Senamile, thank you so much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we go into leadership, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Where did you grow up?
So thank you so much for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity. So I grew up in the small town in KwaZulu-Natal called Vanongoma. Vanongoma is one of the deep rural area. It's rated as disadvantaged community. So it's where I grew up.
And I believe it's close to the King's homestead.
Yes, it's close to the King's homestead, and my mother is princess by birth, so which qualifies me or gives me the right to be called a princess, because as from my mother's side, it's from one royal household to another. So it's only my mother who married my father, who is just an ordinary man. But from my mother's side, it's from royal household to another royal household and to another royal household.
So your mother is a daughter of the king?
The king, and that king from that king, and that king from
Right.
the king. So it's all the line of royalties.
So Senamile, what was your dream career when you grew up?
So in the beginning, because of the lack of career guidance, I wanted to be a doctor, because then everyone wanted to be a doctor. If you are smart, they will say, oh, you must be a doctor for sure. But then that changed when I was in grade 8. So our geography teacher, Mr. Zikubu, introduced us to the astronaut. Astronauts are those people who travel to space. So I also learned that no one from Africa was ever traveled to space. So I said to myself, wow, and I find it very, very fascinating that, oh, wow, while I was a child, while I was a teenager, and there are people who can leave this dimension and go to the moon and go to the planet. And it was so fascinating to also learn about the planet, that, okay, there is Earth, there is Jupiter, there is all of that, there is the sun, So I fell in love with the astronomy and the study of the stars and all those things, the galaxy, the universe, and all those things. So the most important thing that touched my heart is that no one in Africa has ever traveled to space. So I wanted to make history, to be a first African woman to travel to space. So unfortunately, 2003, Mark Shuttleworth beat me to it. He became a first African man to travel to space. So it's where I fell in love with science. I fell in love with science at the early age.
So today you are a nuclear physicist, and you're the first African to lead an African-led experiment at CERN.
I'm a first African woman to be part of the first African-led experiment at CERN. What does it mean? It's not that South Africans has never been involved in experiment at CERN. It means they were involved, but through collaboration. So CERN usually make a call, like all over the world. If you want to propose an experiment, come and propose the experiment. So the experiment that the previous scientists were involved in were experiment, maybe they will collaborate with the Germans, they will collaborate with other countries. So no South African institution or African institution has ever proposed the experiment by themselves. So 2012, my supervisor, Prof. Nico Ose, he is originally from Spain, but he was under the institution University of the Western Cape. So he proposed the experiment, and that is why it was accredited as a first African-led experiment at CERN, because it's of the institution University of the Western Cape, and again it was South African scientists who were involved in all of that. And again, the data was going to be analyzed by a South African. So that is why it's unique, and that is why CERN gave us credit that, okay, your experiment will be the first African-led experiment at CERN. So, and I was the only female in the group. So yeah, I think I was the first. That is why I was the first, because I was the only female in the group.
And you received an award from the president?
It was an acknowledgement, but Parliament, they did give me like a certificate to congratulate you to become the first African woman to conduct an experiment at CERN.
So tell us, Senamile, what is your vision for the future? Where do you want to go?
There are a lot of things that interest me. First of all, I would love to give back in South Africa. And again, I treat myself as a model. As a model, you know, like now I'm exposed and I travel all over the world, so I can see the gaps that is lacking in me. So what do I mean? I mean that I don't want the next generation to experience what I have experienced. So I have to pave the way for the next generation. How am I going to achieve that? It's sad when you go to other countries and then you will discover that education is not a privilege. Hence, here in my country, education, good quality education, it's a privilege. No one can afford a good quality education. I attended a public school myself. I completed my matric at the public school myself. So I know what is lacking. I know that I wish I was taught like that, like other countries, the way their system, the way they work and stuff like that. I know it's a big responsibility, but I will try through my organization, whether it's Senamile Masango Foundation, whether it's Women in Africa, Wise Africa, to try and influence policies of basic education. I strongly believe that is the most important department, because everything, scientists produce scientists, it produce accountant, it produce president, everyone. So once if we can get it right, I strongly believe it's where to go. Even your developed countries, let me take like USA. They invested more into their education. Public school, their education is the best. Why can't we have that here in South Africa? So I will try by all means through my foundation or through our NGO, of which I'm a founder, to try and assist government. I hope they will listen.
And tell us who inspired you in your early days.
In my early days, so it's my father, my late father. So everyone at home is a teacher. My father was a teacher and my mother is a teacher. All my mother. So my father married like 3 wives. He had 3 wives, just like our former president. He has 5, right? So my father had 3 wives. So all of them, they were teachers. So I told myself at the early age, there's no way that I will be a teacher. My father is a teacher. My sisters were teachers. All my mothers were teachers. So while I was growing up, I think it was around 1992, my father was not there. He was in university and he was 52 years old. So you can see how he valued education. And everyone at home, whether it's my sister, they were graduating like each and every year. It was the thing. Someone must graduate at home. My father will graduate. My big sisters will graduate. So I can say it's my father who planted the seed of education in me. And my father was a well-respected man in Ngwanongoma because he was a chief director in education.
Now tell us, Senamile, looking back over your career, was there a turning point where things could have gone differently?
At this moment, I think whatever happened, it was supposed to be happened because it has shaped me to become a better woman. It has shaped me. It's not that I'm a straight A student. I made mistake even at varsity. I failed some of my module because university meant freedom to me. So I was not responsible, and I started university. I was 16 years old, so I was not matured. So I ended up making mistake. I ended up being pregnant, and there's a lot that I've learned through all those hiccups up. That is what has molded me to be the woman that I am today. So I know now that if I'm not responsible, physics is not easy. If I'm not responsible, if I don't do my work on time, so I will fail. So I've went through all the failures like everyone else. Not that there's something special about me. I'm not even a straight A student. I'm just an average student, but I managed to tunnel through. I know that I have to work hard, and physics is not easy. I have to give my all and consult my lecturers.
Now, Senamile, let's talk about leadership. What does the future of leadership mean to you?
The future of leadership, it means someone who can. It's someone who can open doors for other
Right.
ones, and also a leader, strong leader. I believe it's someone who does not only think for himself or herself. You have to, in order for you to be qualified as a good leader, it's someone who will think more of the next generation than yourself. So to me, it's what leadership means.
And what have you learned from your own journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
What I've learned from my own journey is that nothing happened by mistake. Every failure that I've experienced in life, it was there to teach me something. So I have to learn from that failure. So it's what it means.
And when you speak to aspiring leaders, what do you tell them they should focus on?
You must have a dream, and you must do something that you like. Because imagine having difficulties and something that you don't like, or having challenges in something that you don't like. It's easy for you to give up. I told you that I wanted to be a first African woman to travel to space. That is very big. So regardless of, we know that we are not doing well as a country in mathematics and in science, but in those difficulties, I look at the end result that, okay, there is an award into this, and there is something that I look for, that I want, that I'm passionate about. You can wake up at midnight with physics. I'm passionate about it. I love what I'm doing. So people must choose something that they're passionate about, something that they love, so that even if you won't complain, I sleep almost every day around 3 a.m. I don't complain, because it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I am enjoying to do. So yeah.
And Senamile, when it comes to technology, what would you say are the key technologies that future leaders should study and maybe learn from?
The thing is, with South Africa, it's different, because mostly of young people in South Africa don't have access to the technology you are talking about. What can I say first is that, what if this country, there are young people where I'm coming from in Nongom, they never seen a computer. So there are few people who have access, people who like me or kids. There are few people compared to maybe 30% who have access to technology. So it's really, really difficult, because for me, I'm not thinking about this 30%. I'm thinking about the 70% who's poor, who has at home the hope without matric. Some they have matric, and they've already give up, and because South Africa, I think we are the first in the rate of unemployment. So it's for technology. Let us fix our education first. Then we will talk technology.
And Senamile, when it comes to social media, what is it that you suggest? How should future leaders, how should the youth go about using social media to build their own brand, very much like you've done or you are doing on LinkedIn?
You think so? So there is a lot. It's not easy to build a brand like the one that I'm trying to build, because most of our youth are not interested. They will be interested if I will dance, do all those things. They will be more interested, But there are few people who has the vision that I'm having, that are using their social media platform to to have a voice through their social media platform. You know, social media is one of the most powerful tools. I never met you. We just met today. We met through LinkedIn. So I advise the youth to use their social media in the way that they can influence or impact or change other people. There are a lot of people who always send me inbox, not only on LinkedIn, sometimes in Facebook and all other social media. We are in someone that I never even met will say, I'm inspired by your story, your courage, you keep on, we look up to you. And yeah, you can be a good role model through social media. You can build your brand through social media. You can even build your business through social media. So young people must use their social media. Well, again, social media can also break you.
So you have to be careful.
You have to be careful of what you are posting. Yeah, you have to be careful. I remember I posted something about Robert Mugabe jokingly, and I lose an endorsement.
Really?
Yes, I lose an endorsement. So you have to be careful. What are you standing for? What brand are you selling? Sure. Like me, I'm selling the brand education, being a scientist, being a woman. So I have to play around those lines. I have to play around those lines. Leave it to politics to politicians. Leave business to business people. So for me, I must always play around those lines.
Science and education.
Yes, science and education.
Now, Senamile, as a role model, you are mentoring many aspiring leaders. Can you maybe share a success story with us where you mentored somebody and that person took your advice to heart?
So, at home, I'm coming from a disadvantaged community. So, mostly they don't have libraries, they don't have access to computers and books and everything like that. So I opened our home at Kwanongoma, and I remember it was 2011. There was a group of boys who were very, very serious. You know, they walk like, I think, almost more than 10 kilometers to school. So they were walking that distance at night. Mind you, it's not safe. So I asked them, I called them and said, okay, you can come and use my home. And because that year I was around at home, and I assisted them with maths and science. So we will do homework together. We will study together as a group. So, and helping them there and there and there. And now one of the boys is now a professional technologist. He studied civil engineering in university. It's Mangosuthu Technikon in KwaZulu-Natal. He's now a professional engineer. So now I'm very, very happy to see young people who succeeded through my programs, because no one told me about it. It was from my heart that these kids that travel at night, why can't I assist them? I gave them career guidance. I pay for their CAE application fee, and I had no money then, but I managed somehow to get it for them and donate all my science book to them and all the books that at home we had for science and maths. And now she's a professional technologist, so I'm happy.
Would you say, Senamile, that is what's driving you today?
Yes, that is what's driving me today, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who have sown in their lives, there are a lot of people that have sown into their life, whether money, whatsoever, but I always ensure it's what my father was doing, because where I'm coming from, we're surrounded with poverty. So my father used to do it. So it's in us as a family to fill the gap where we see it.
Right.
Yeah.
And tell us, Senamile, who are the role models of leadership that you would suggest future leaders should study and learn from?
Here in South Africa,
in South Africa and across the world.
To me, I always make my father. To me, it's my father, but no one knows my father. Okay, so it's leaders like Nelson Mandela. It's leaders like Nelson Mandela. It's leaders like Thuli Madonsela. Let me just highlight the story of Thuli Madonsela. So he's one of the principal leaders, ethics and everything. So she stood in whatever that she believed it was right, and no one will change her otherwise. Whatever is right, and he fought for justice in everything that he does. So, yeah, you must have walls of stills, I think, if you are a leader.
And Senamile, how can our listeners get hold of you, and how best should they connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Senamile Masango. I'm on Twitter, Senamile Masango. On Instagram, Senamile Masango. Facebook, Senamile Masango Foundation. You can like my page. And very soon I will be launching my website so that people can reach out to me via my website.
Will that be Senamile Masango?
Yeah, it will be senamilemasango.com.
.com?
Yeah.
Okay, looking forward to that. And last but not least, Senamile, is there one piece of advice that you would really like to convey to future leaders that they should implement in their own life?
You mustn't fear. It's fear. You must deal with fear. Sky is the limit, and nothing is impossible as long as you believe in yourself.
Well, Senamile, thank you so much for sharing your story and for inspiring us to build a better future.
Thank you so much.
And for all your efforts to guide the next generation.
Thanks. Thank you so much.